Max Schmerkowski, a revered veteran and foundational pillar of Dancing with the Stars, is publicly sounding off about the show's recent decision to cast Slovenian dancer Jan Ravnik among its ranks of professional performers. The outspoken choreographer, who has transitioned from a mirrorball champion to a frequent critic and commentator, is not holding back his disapproval, suggesting that the series' casting direction may be straying from its core formula. Having built his legacy on the show's dance floor, Max's perspective carries significant weight, and his criticism implies a belief that the new generation, exemplified by Ravnik, a talented champion in his own right but a fresh face to the American audience, lacks the established pedigree or chemistry he deems essential for the show's enduring success. This creates a narrative clash between the old guard standards and the producer's desire to infuse the long-running series with new energy. The criticism reached its most pointed and personal peak when Max Schmerkowski, speaking candidly on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's The Penthouse with Peta podcast this past Friday, delivered a scathing and unequivocal verdict. The 45-year-old former DWTS pro, leveraging the informal and intimate platform of the show, did not mince words, stating bluntly, "I'm sorry, Jan has absolutely no business being a pro on Dancing with the Stars." This dismissive comment, delivered in a conversational tone that belied its harshness, transformed his general disapproval into a direct and public challenge to Jan Ravnik's specific qualifications and right to hold the coveted position, a move that is sure to send ripples through the show's tight-knit professional community. According to Max, who pulled no punches in his detailed assessment, the 30-year-old Jan, whose high-profile experience includes serving as a backup dancer for global superstar Taylor Swift, fundamentally lacks the essential skills required for the Dancing with the Stars ballroom. Schmerkowski lambasted Ravnik's dancing, claiming he possesses zero foundation technique, quality, or, most damningly for the format of the show, any understanding of the partnership that is the very bedrock of the competition. This specific critique cuts to the core of what it means to be a professional on the series, suggesting that while Jan may be a capable performer in his own right, Max believes he is ill-equipped for the nuanced, collaborative, and technically precise work of guiding a celebrity partner to success. Max Schmerkowski is launching scathing criticism against Dancing with the Stars for its decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a new professional dancer, a move the veteran has deemed profoundly misguided. Speaking on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's The Penthouse with Peta podcast, the 45-year-old former pro left no room for ambiguity, stating bluntly, "I'm sorry, Jan has absolutely no business being a pro on Dancing with the Stars." Elaborating on his harsh verdict, Max dismissed the 30-year-old Ravnik, who previously served as a backup dancer for Taylor Swift, as possessing zero foundation technique, quality, or a crucial understanding of the partnership. His frustration then crescendoed into a raw, emotional outburst. "Bro, I'm getting emotional," he declared from his soapbox, adding, "It is absurd, and this is unreal how blind we have to be and God forbid say what's obviously there." This impassioned finale frames his technical critique not merely as a professional opinion, but as a glaring truth he feels the show is deliberately ignoring, marking one of his most confrontational and personal condemnations of the series' current direction. Max Schmerkowski is launching scathing criticism against Dancing with the Stars for its decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a new professional dancer, a move the veteran has deemed profoundly misguided. Speaking on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's podcast, the 45-year-old former pro left no room for ambiguity, stating bluntly, "I'm sorry, Jan has absolutely no business being a pro on Dancing with the Stars," and citing a lack of foundation, technique, and understanding of partnership. To crystallize his point, Max pointed to Jan's choreography for last Tuesday's Wicked Night as a tangible example of these deficiencies, using the recent routine as conclusive evidence for his damning assessment. His frustration then crescendoed into a raw outburst, declaring, "Bro, I'm getting emotional. It is absurd, and this is unreal how blind we have to be." By anchoring his abstract criticisms to a specific, televised performance, Schmerkowski transformed his emotional rant into a pointed critique, suggesting the proof of Jan's unsuitability was there for all to see in the very choreography that Max Schmerkowski, a revered veteran of With the Stars, is launching scathing criticism against the show for its decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a new professional dancer. Speaking on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's podcast, the 45-year-old former pro left no room for ambiguity, stating, "I'm sorry, Jan has absolutely no business being a pro on Dancing with the Stars," and citing a lack of foundation, technique, and understanding of partnership. To crystallize his point, Max pointed to Jan's choreography for last Tuesday's Wicked Night as a tangible example, with the Latin ballroom dance champion emphasizing, he had no idea what foxtrot is supposed to look like. This specific technical indictment of a classic ballroom style served as the foundation for his escalating emotion. "Bro, I'm getting emotional," he said from his soapbox, concluding, "It is absurd, and this is unreal how blind we have to be and God forbid say what's obviously there." By anchoring his abstract criticisms to a specific failure in a core dance discipline, Chmerkovskiy framed his outburst not as mere opinion, but as an irrefutable truth the show was choosing to ignore. Max Chmerkovskiy, a foundational pillar of Dancing with the Stars, is delivering scathing criticism of the show's decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a new professional dancer. On his wife Peta Murgatroyd's podcast, the 45-year-old former pro asserted that Jan has absolutely no business in the role, citing his lack of foundation technique and understanding of the partnership. To substantiate his claim, Max pointed to Jan's choreography for last Tuesday's Wicked Night as a prime example, with the Latin ballroom champion emphasizing, he had no idea what foxtrot is supposed to look like. This technical critique is given greater weight by the fact that Jan is currently partnered with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Jen Affleck in the competition, a situation Max likely views as a direct consequence of poor casting, where a celebrity's potential is being hampered by a pro he deems unqualified. This tangible impact on a contestant's journey fueled his emotional soapbox moment, where he called the situation absurd and lamented the willful blindness to what he sees as an obvious problem, framing his outburst as a necessary, if controversial, truth. In a blistering critique delivered on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's The Penthouse with Peta podcast, former Dancing with the Stars champion Max Chmerkovskiy launched a direct attack on the show's casting of Jan Ravnik as a new professional. The 45-year-old veteran didn't mince words, stating, "I'm sorry, Jan has absolutely no business being a pro," citing a lack of foundation technique and an understanding of the partnership. As evidence, he pointed to Jan's recent foxtrot choreography for Wicked Night, which he performed with his current partner, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Jen Affleck, emphatically noting, he had no idea what foxtrot is supposed to look like. Driving his point further, Max went on to posit, how are you going to expect him to teach it and deliver that message in a format that is completely different from even ballroom dancing? This rhetorical question highlighted a core issue in Max's view, that Jan's background as a backup dancer for Taylor Swift has left him fundamentally unprepared to teach and adapt ballroom technique for the unique, celebrity partner format of the show. This perceived pedagogical failure culminated in an emotional outburst from Chmerkovskiy, who found the entire situation absurd and a glaring truth the show was willfully ignoring. On a recent episode of his wife Peta Murgatroyd's The Penthouse with Peta podcast, Dancing with the Stars icon Max Chmerkovskiy launched a scorching critique against the show's decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a professional dancer. The 45-year-old former pro was unequivocal, stating Jan has absolutely no business in the role, lambasting his zero foundation technique and lack of understanding of the partnership. To substantiate his claim, Max pointed to the foxtrot Jan choreographed for Wicked Night for his current partner, Jen Affleck, asserting, he had no idea what foxtrot is supposed to look like. Max then questioned how someone with that perceived gap in knowledge could be expected to teach the style, asking, how are you going to expect him to teach it and deliver that message in a format that is completely different from even ballroom dancing? His frustration was revealed to be long-simmering, as he lamented, we had this criticism weeks ago, and I'm like, bro, is anybody going to explain it to him? This sense that the problem was both obvious and unaddressed by production fueled his emotional climax, where he called the situation absurd and unreal, framing his entire tirade as a desperate plea for someone to acknowledge a flaw he believes is jeopardizing the competition's integrity. In a fiery segment on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's podcast, Dancing with the Stars veteran Max Chmerkovskiy unleashed a vehement critique of the show's decision to cast Jan Ravnik as a professional dancer, though he was careful to clarify that his criticism of the 30-year-old former Taylor Swift backup dancer is not personal, and is more so directed toward the people responsible for casting him. Max had initially left no room for interpretation, stating Jan had absolutely no business in the role and lacked the necessary technique and understanding of partnership, using Jan's foxtrot with celebrity partner Jan Affleck on Wicked Night as concrete evidence that he had no idea what foxtrot is supposed to look like. His frustration mounted as he questioned how Jan could be expected to teach a style he seemingly didn't grasp himself, a problem he claimed was identified weeks prior without intervention. This all built to his emotional declaration that the situation was absurd. By concluding with the clarification that his issue lies with the casting directors, Max reframes his entire tirade not as an attack on an individual, but as a profound disappointment with the management he believes is compromising the show's artistic integrity by placing an underqualified dancer in a teaching role. In a candid and emotionally charged critique on his wife Peta Murgatroyd's podcast, Dancing with the Stars stalwart Max Schmerkowski dissected the show's casting of Jan Ravnik, framing it as a fundamental misstep by producers. While his initial comments were brutally direct, asserting Jan had no business being a pro, lacked foundational technique, and demonstrated a flawed understanding of partnership through a poorly conceived foxtrot, Max ultimately clarified this was not a personal attack but a missed opportunity by casting directors. This perspective was immediately reinforced by his co-host and wife, Peta, who weighed in from a different angle, saying Jen is at a major disadvantage due to her partner's inexperience. This crucial addition from another seasoned pro shifted the focus from abstract artistic principles to the tangible consequence for the celebrity, Jan Affleck. Together, their dual critiques form a powerful, two-pronged argument. Max lamented the degradation of the show's professional standards, while Peta highlighted the unfair competitive handicap created for a contestant, presenting a united front that this casting failure has a ripple effect, compromising both the art and the fairness of the competition. The recent casting of Jan Ravnik as a professional on Dancing with the Stars has become a flashpoint for criticism from veterans Max Schmerkowski and his wife, Peta Murgatroyd. On their podcast, Max launched a technical assault, claiming Jan has no business in the role due to a lack of foundation technique and demonstrating his point by criticizing Jan's foxtrot choreography for partner Jan Affleck. Though he clarified his issue was with casting directors and not Jan personally, calling it a missed opportunity, his wife Peta immediately underscored the real-world consequence of this decision. Meanwhile, his wife Peta weighed in, saying Jen is at a major disadvantage due to her partner's inexperience. She expanded with palpable empathy, "I feel bad because she's not getting taught the basics that she needs to," she shared, adding, "She's not getting taught the base of the dance." Together, their dual critiques form a powerful indictment. Max argues the show is compromising its artistic standards, while Peta highlights the unfair plight of the celebrity, left without the fundamental instruction needed to succeed or improve in the competition. The casting of Jan Ravnik as a professional on Dancing with the Stars has ignited a fierce critique from veterans Max Schmerkowski and Peta Murgatroyd, who together framed the decision as a failure with cascading consequences. Max launched a technical assault, citing Jan's lack of foundation technique and using his flawed foxtrot with partner Jan Affleck as evidence, while clarifying his issue was with the casting directors, not Jan personally. Peta immediately underscored the human cost of this decision, asserting that Jen was at a major disadvantage because she's not getting taught the basics that she needs to, the base of the dance. She then suggested a rationale for the controversial choice, positing that Jan was cast due to his affiliation with pop star Taylor, with whom he performed on the Eras tour. This final point completes their argument. The producers, in their view, prioritized the borrowed glamour of a pop superstar's stage over the essential ballroom expertise required, a decision that ultimately sacrifices both the artistic integrity of the dance and the fair competition of the celebrity involved. The casting of Jan Ravnik as a professional on Dancing with the Stars has ignited a fierce critique from veterans Max Schmerkowski and Peta Murgatroyd, who together framed the decision as a prioritization of pop culture clout over professional ballroom standards. While Max lamented Jan's lack of foundation technique and a flawed understanding of partnership, using his foxtrot with Jan Affleck as evidence, Peta highlighted the tangible consequence for the celebrity, stating Jen was at a major disadvantage and not being taught the basics. When Max clarified his issue was with the casting directors and not Jan personally, the couple's critique coalesced around a single, perceived motive. The podcast host declared, "They hired him. He's a Taylor Swift dancer. It's the obvious reason why he is hired." This statement crystallized their underlying argument. that the show's producers, in their view, opted for the marketable allure of a Taylor Swift dancer from the record-breaking Eras tour over the essential ballroom pedigree they believe is fundamental to the competition's integrity and the celebrity's success. The controversy surrounding Dancing with the Stars' casting of Jan Ravnik, which prompted a technical critique from Max Schmerkowski and a concerned assessment from Peter Murgatroyd about his partner Jen Affleck's major disadvantage, has now entered a new, modern phase of public discourse. Jen appeared to respond to Mac's dig in a TikTok posted to her account on Monday. While the specific content of the video isn't detailed, the very act of posting on the platform serves as a strategic, public rebuttal, allowing the couple to control their own narrative. Rather than issuing a formal statement, they likely used the medium to project an image of unity, confidence, and perhaps even subtle defiance, offering their side of the story not through words but through curated chemistry and performance, a direct, albeit unspoken, challenge to the accusations of a flawed partnership and inadequate technique. This move transforms the criticism from a one-sided podcast commentary into a multi-platform debate, engaging the show's audience directly and demonstrating that the couple is choosing to let their partnership, and their social media presence, do the talking. The simmering controversy surrounding Dancing with the Stars professional Jan Ravnik, which drew sharp criticism from veterans Max Schmerkowski and Peter Murgatroyd over his technical skills and the perceived disadvantage to his partner Jen Affleck, has now sparked a deft, social media-savvy response from the couple at the center of the storm. In a TikTok posted to Jen's account on Monday, the pair appeared to directly answer Mac's digs, with the video showing her typing on her phone, mimicking leaving comments, between her rehearsals with January. This clever staging served as a multi-layered retort. It subtly acknowledged the online discourse without explicitly naming it, portrayed Jen as unbothered and even amused by the drama, and, most importantly, showcased their continued dedication in the rehearsal studio. By framing their response within the context of their work, the video cleverly countered the narrative of a dysfunctional partnership, suggesting instead a united front that is focused on their own journey and capable of laughing off the criticism from the sidelines. The brewing controversy on Dancing with the Stars, ignited by Max Schmerkowski's scathing technical critique of pro-dancer Jan Ravnik and amplified by Peter Murgatroyd's concern that his partner Jen Affleck was at a major disadvantage, has now escalated into a full-blown social media battle. Jen and Jan have publicly clapped back with a meticulously crafted TikTok video that directly addresses the drama. The clip, posted to Jen's account, showed her mock-typing comments on her phone between rehearsals, setting a tone of dismissive humor. However, the most pointed moment came from Jan himself, who was pictured lip-syncing with defiant clarity to the words, "Take it down. Take it down. Take it down. We need it gone. Take it down. That doesn't represent me or what we need to be doing." This powerful audio served as a direct renunciation of Max's very public digs, framing the criticism not as constructive feedback but as harmful noise that misrepresents their partnership and work ethic. In one fell swoop, the video transformed the couple from subjects of critique to active participants in the narrative, using the language of social media to defiantly defend their shared reputation and signal that they are unified and focused on their own journey, despite the external noise. The ongoing Dancing with the Stars controversy, sparked by Max Schmerkowski's podcast critique that pro-Jan Ravnik lacked foundation technique and placed his partner Jen Affleck at a major disadvantage, has escalated into a deft public relations countermove from the couple in question. Jen and Jan responded not with a formal statement, but through a clever TikTok video that masterfully combined humor and defiance. The clip featured Jen mock-typing comments on her phone between rehearsals, while a text overlay explicitly stated the video's purpose, "Me when anyone talks trash about January." This was powerfully complemented by Jan himself, who was pictured lip-syncing with conviction to an audio track demanding, "Take it down. That doesn't represent me or what we need to be doing." Together, the text and the performance created a unified front. Jen positioned herself as Jan's defiant defender, while Jan directly rejected the criticism as a misrepresentation of their partnership. This coordinated response successfully shifted the narrative, allowing them to address the drama on their own terms, project an image of unwavering solidarity, and turn the critics' noise into a showcase of their own team spirit. The Dancing with the Stars casting controversy, ignited by Max Schmerkowski's scathing technical critique of pro dancer Jan Ravnik and amplified by his wife Peta Murgatroyd's concern that his partner Jen Affleck was at a major disadvantage, has now culminated in a unified and defiant public response from the couple. Jen and Jan expertly clapped back via a TikTok video that showed her mock-typing comments with the on-screen text "me when anyone talks trash about Jan," while Jan lip-synced to an audio demanding, "Take it down. That doesn't represent me." Jen solidified their stance in the caption, writing, "We don't tolerate Jan slander in this house." At Jan Ravnik at Dancing with the Stars #DWTS. This powerful multi-platform rebuttal transforms the narrative from one of criticism to one of partnership and loyalty. The episode now stands as a modern clash of values, the ballroom purist perspective of veterans like Max and Peta, who see a compromise of foundational technique, versus the new guard's use of social media to control their own story, presenting a united front against what they perceive as unjustified slander. Max Schmerkowski's scathing critique of Dancing with the Stars for casting pro dancer Jan Ravnik is part of a broader, consistent pattern of the veteran publicly challenging the show's production choices. His recent comments on his wife's podcast, where he lamented Jan's technical foundation and the missed opportunity in his hiring, directly echo sentiments he has expressed before about other casting decisions. This was notably evident in September 2024 when he slammed the show's decision to feature the formerly incarcerated socialite Anna Delvey, branding her a shitty dancer. At that time, he similarly questioned the producer's judgment, stating, "There's so many other people you could choose from." This parallel rhetoric reveals a recurring theme in Max's public persona, a fervent belief that the show's integrity relies on prioritizing skilled dancers and legitimate celebrities, a standard from which he feels the producers have repeatedly strayed, whether by hiring a Taylor Swift dancer for a ballroom role or by giving a platform to a controversial figure for her notoriety rather than her talent. Max Schmerkowski's recent condemnation of Dancing with the Stars for casting pro dancer Jan Ravnik is a consistent extension of his long-standing, public role as a self-appointed guardian of the show's standards. His technical dissection of Jan's foxtrot and his wife Peta's concern that partner Jen Affleck was at a major disadvantage mirror the fervor of a previous critique he launched in September 2024 against the show's decision to feature the formerly incarcerated socialite Anna Delvey. Of Delvey, he not only branded her a shitty dancer and questioned why producers chose her over countless others, but he also said her standoffish personality was not really going to help her in this competition. This pattern reveals that Schmerkowski's criticisms are twofold, targeting both a lack of technical dance skill and a perceived deficiency in the personality or partnership chemistry required to win. Whether aimed at a professional he deems unqualified or a celebrity contestant he finds lacking, his overarching message to producers remains the same: he believes the core principles of dance and partnership are being compromised for other, more marketable, but ultimately superficial, attributes.